over his right to use classified information at his trial. The decision to delay the trial won't help or hurt North and has no direct bearing on his case. Chief Justice William Rehnquist simply did not want to act alone, and the stay is good only until this Friday, when he and his colleagues will meet in this conference room for a regularly scheduled and extraordinarily private meeting. If a majority of the justices then vote to deny the stay, Judge Gerhard Cassell could immediately set a new trial date. If they vote to continue the stay, no trial could be held until an appeals court rules on the Justice Department's complaint. Specifically, that procedures governing the use of classified information at North's trial are so lax, national security could be endangered. At the very least, today's stay gives both sides one more week to firm up a pending compromise. Last night, Justice Department lawyers working late reportedly reached some agreement with both representatives of the intelligence community and John Kecker, the lead Iran-Contra prosecutor. Independent counsel Lawrence Walsh wouldn't comment on it as he stepped off the plane late this afternoon, returning to Washington from a visit to his native Oklahoma. But right now, the trial is off. Judge Cassell had hoped to swear in a jury tomorrow. Instead, he's expected to remind jurors to avoid news reports and then send them home so that they may wait, along with everyone else. Tim O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
The power of the written word was starkly shown in Pakistan today when police and demonstrators clashed over a book published in the United States. The Muslim protesters believe the book, The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie, attacks Muhammad and their faith. Mike Lee reports the angry demonstration ended in violence.
Several thousand Pakistanis marched to the American Information Center in Islamabad to demonstrate against publication of the novel in the U.S. The protest erupted into a riot. Several protesters were shot dead by Pakistani police. Dozens were injured and arrested. Throughout the world, fundamentalist Muslims are demanding that Satanic Verses be banned as blasphemous. In Salman Rushdie's novel, a fictional character accuses the Islamic prophet Muhammad of being a bum. And in a dream sequence, prostitutes masquerade as wives of the prophet. Muslim extremists here today were so angry, they took down the American flag, destroyed a U.S. government sign, and tried to set fire to an American Express bank. In London, the author of the book reacted to today's violence.
What's happening in Pakistan seems to me is a way of restating the power of Islamic fundamentalism. And the book is only a pretext.
An irony of the continuing worldwide protest over the book in question is that riots, like the one here in Pakistan, create interest in the West, which in turn can generate book sales. Mike Lee, ABC News, Islamabad, Pakistan.
Pakistan's Prime Minister today denied Afghan and Soviet claims that thousands of Pakistani troops have massed along the border with Afghanistan and are preparing to invade when the last Soviet troops pull out. Benazir Bhutto said Pakistan has enough internal problems and doesn't need any foreign adventures.
World News Sunday, brought to you by AT&T.
To be a little chillier.
It was today that James Baker began one of his most difficult stops on this 15-country trip. Even so, in a drenching winter rainstorm, he tried to put the best face on it.
I'm delighted to be here, and I'm looking forward to some fruitful discussions.
Those fruitful discussions concern a growing list of serious disagreements between the U.S. and this important NATO ally. On that list, increasing West German unhappiness over disruptive NATO military exercises on German soil, outrage at air accidents caused by low-flying NATO military jets on training missions, irritation and embarrassment over U.S. criticism concerning West German help in building Libya's chemical weapons plant, and most recently, West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl's call for a delay of any decision about modernizing NATO's short-range nuclear missile system called the Lance. The U.S. had hoped NATO would vote this spring to go ahead with the program. The new Secretary of State spent this morning consulting with the British, with part of that discussion focusing on problems of West Germany. Baker said his goal here in Bonn is not to pick a fight, but on this visit anyway, his first as Secretary of State, to try to understand what the German position really is. John McWethy, ABC News, Bonn.
Secretary Baker may be listening in West Germany, but when he travels to Greece on Tuesday, he'll come armed with a message. The problem is international terrorism, and the U.S. doesn't believe Greece has been tough enough. ABC's Jim Hickey reports in the news.
When this Greek cruise liner was attacked by terrorists last July, long-standing beliefs here were punctured that with their ties to the Arab world, Greeks were somehow immune to terrorism. 9 people were killed, nearly 100 wounded.
The Greek geography, a series of islands close to the Middle East, makes this country a haven for terrorist activities. And the perception that Greece has been soft on terrorism dismays some of its allies, not the least of which the United States.
During Secretary Baker's visit to Athens later this week, he is sure to express U.S. unhappiness with Greece. High on the agenda is Salman Rushdie, now in a Greek jail on a false passport charge. The U.S. wants him extradited, accusing Rushdie of the 1982 bombing of a Pan-American jet over Hawaii, killing 1 person. Intelligence sources say the case against Rushdie is very strong. Still, Greece has so far refused to hand him over.
If the Greek government does not extradite Rushdie to the United States, it will set off a series of events in Greek-American relations that probably will give us the greatest strain in our relations in several decades.
But some Greeks are worried about what will happen if Rushdie is extradited.
In certain political quarters, there is fear that these terrorists might strike again.
Several Greek prosecutors have already been assassinated. Others went on strike to protest the government's inability to protect them. And at least 2 Greek Supreme Court judges have resigned, reportedly to avoid making a decision about Rushdie.
It's a very extraordinary phenomenon for members of the judiciary to resign because they're terrified to administer justice.
Western diplomats say Greece is only just beginning to realize it too is vulnerable to terrorism and would be wise to cooperate with its allies. That's a point Secretary Baker will want to drive home. Jim Hickey, ABC News, Athens.
It was not long ago that the teaching of Hebrew was a crime in the Soviet Union, and Jewish religious instructors were put in jail. But today, Jewish leaders from all over the world were in Moscow for a joyous celebration to open the first cultural center for Soviet Jews in more than half a century, where language classes in Yiddish and Hebrew will be just one part of an ambitious cultural program.